Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. I know I've been gone for over a week. I wasn't feeling good last week, and then over the weekend I was in Alabama with little internet service visiting family. So I know I missed a lot of the free agency stuff, but this video is going to be a lot of recap, what I think is going to happen this NBA season, kind of like a little preview, nothing, expansive, just kind of a broad statement of how I think certain teams might match up with certain moves. But let's go ahead and get right into the biggest news that happened last week, and that was Kawhi Leonard deciding to join the Los Angeles Clippers, and when he formed the Lakers and Toronto Raptors, that he was signing with them. And a minute later, Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Los Angeles Clippers traded for Paul George from the Oklahoma City Thunder for a record-setting 4 first-round picks, unprotected, 1 protected first-round pick, and then 2 swaps for Alexander, their point guard, and Gallinari. So obviously this was a lot of process when this happened at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this set the NBA world on fire. And immediately it made the Clippers not only one of the top teams in the NBA, but it made them the best defense in the league with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the wings and re-signing Patrick Beverley. So you have a pit bull at point guard who's going to be at the front line of attack on their defense. And then Montrezl Harrell, I don't know if they're going to have him coming off the bench yet or if they're going to start, because right now the projected lineups is Patrick Beverley at the 1, Kawhi Leonard at the 2, Maurice Harkless, who they got from Portland, 3, Paul George at the 4, and Zubac, who they re-signed for 3 years, $28 million at center. Now, off rip, on the perimeter, they're really good defensively, but they might be a little bit small on the inside, especially once I get to who the Lakers brought in a second. But obviously it made the Clippers the top team in the NBA because you signed right now the best player in the world in Kawhi Leonard. At least he proved it in the playoffs and the NBA Finals. And obviously it can change with LeBron coming back from injury. And the first time he missed the playoffs is, I believe, his second year in the league. So off rip, it was a Woj bomb of all Woj bombs. And it's something that caught the NBA off guard. No reporters got this right. They all thought it was between Toronto and the Los Angeles Lakers, especially Chris Broussard. He was very tapped into the situation, and he really believed that the Lakers were the front runners and were more than likely going to end up with Kawhi Leonard. And sure enough, Kawhi Leonard behind the scenes was making sure the Clippers did whatever they could to get Paul George, who he wanted to team up with in LA with the Clippers once Jimmy Butler was off the board. Katie didn't want to play with him. And it was reported earlier today that Kawhi Leonard wanted to play with Kyrie, but Kyrie was obviously had his eyes set on playing for the Brooklyn Nets. So as that went on, the Lakers got the word that he wasn't signing with them, and it was a domino effect of who they signed. They ended up signing Danny Green to a 2-year, $30 million contract. Then they ended up re-signing Rajon Rondo, ended up re-signing KCP, and then they end up signing DeMarcus Cousins to a vet minimum. So when it comes to the matchup between the Lakers and the Clippers, obviously my first reaction was there's no way that the Lakers will end up beating the Clippers, not because LeBron and AD aren't great in their own right and they wouldn't match up with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. When I just look at their team, it looks like the Clippers have a deeper team, especially when you got Lou Williams, who's 6th man of the year, coming off the bench, who can start on any other team in the league. But then I started thinking, okay, if you have DeMarcus Cousins and AD, and they also re-signed JaVale McGee, so inside you're already weak because your center is Zubac, who's not a defender and offensively shows promise, but even after he was traded to the Clippers, didn't really show much since then. Even though a lot of people thought it was a bad trade for the Lakers, he didn't really show much, promise since being with the Clippers. Now you got Montrezl Harrell, but Montrezl Harrell is 6'8" on a good day, so he's still undersized. So I wonder how the matchup is going to be. Right now, I think the Lakers are actually, believe it or not, a bad matchup for the Clippers, because I thought, before recording this video, I would put LeBron at point guard, Danny Green at the 2, Kuzma at the 3, and you got 80 at the 4, and then you could probably interchange between DeMarcus Cousins and JaVale McGee at the 5. And it was reported by Chris Haynes about 5 minutes before I started recording this video that they're looking to shift LeBron to the point guard, so it furthers prove my point that they're going to be a bigger lineup and they're going to have enough shooting to compete with the Clippers. Now, as far as what Oklahoma City is going to end up doing, right now they're exploring options to trade Russell Westbrook and his market value isn't really that great considering that his reputation as a player has been hindered somewhat over the last few years. That, yeah, he's been averaging a triple-double, but he hasn't gotten to the second round. They've been first round exits, even with him and Paul George. I think the only teams that are in the running right now are the Houston Rockets, which I don't know how they'll pull off that trade, because you can't trade Chris Paul because it goes against everything Oklahoma City Thunder trying to do, especially since they just got rid of Jeremy Grant and they just traded him to the Denver Nuggets for some more draft picks. Maybe Miami is a likely scenario, but I don't know if Miami has enough assets to trade for Russell Westbrook, especially draft capital. But I don't know if how that would work with him and Jimmy Butler. They wouldn't have, I don't think they have enough talent to really compete, even though they're two great players. I just don't know how they'll fit and whether or not they'll be enough to compete in the East. So from what I've been hearing from other people, insiders that are tapped into this situation, that it seems like the Detroit Pistons is more of a likely scenario, pairing him up with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, even though they just signed Derrick Rose during free agency for a 2 year, $15 million contract. So right now his market is not that great considering that he's aging. His reputation has been hindered somewhat, and he also has a big contract. He has 4 years with $171 million left on his deal. So right now he's not looking very tradable. And this afternoon, getting back to the Lakers, if I can jump back for a second, they did end up signing Avery Bradley to a 2 year, $9.3 million contract, and this is just going to further bolster their defense and make them a low-key lockdown defense kind of team, especially if you got Avery Bradley coming off the bench. If you have Lou Williams who comes off the bench, he's a scorer. Avery Bradley's about the same size as Lou Williams, and he could play lockdown defense. Now, it's been a long time since we saw Avery Bradley play at a competitive level when he was with the Boston Celtics, but he's still an elite defender. He can knock down shots. And also something that he's very underrated in, he's a very underrated cutter to the basket, especially on the backside. With LeBron running a point, who's going to end up driving, one of the things that made him successful in Miami, especially with his passing, was that D Wade really learned how to be a great weak side cutter, and especially along the baseline. And he was able to hit D Wade on a lot of cuts for a lot of baskets, and that's something that Avery Bradley's very good at, because he knows he's undersized. He's not a true point guard, so he had to make his way into the NBA just for not playing defense, but for also being a great cutter and a guy who can knock down shots and play defense. He fits right into what the Lakers are trying to do, and you could tell that they're going in a completely different direction than they did last year when they went to surround LeBron more playmakers. Now they're surrounding him with more people that play defense and who can knock down shots. Now, again, I was just making this video to kind of go over a recap of free agency, of everything that happened, and just like a broad preview of how I think these teams will match up. Now, as the free agency continues and players on the lower tiers begin to sign and summer league ends and you get the full roster of these teams, I will probably do a preview of the NBA season, maybe later on down the line, just to see how I think it's going to happen this season, how I think teams will match up. And I'm working on a video right now analyzing the top draft picks and how they've been doing in the summer league so far. I'm probably going to do a little bit of RJ Barrett. Obviously, it's not going to be much to go on Zion, but I'll probably touch on how I thought his performance went, because I did watch that game between him and RJ Barrett live, and some of the other sneaky players that are flying under the radar that weren't drafted as high. So make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like this video, share this video, and make sure you guys stay up to date what's going on in the NBA today.